All right, look, I gotta be honest with you guys. I have seen parts of this movie on cable television, and I was never impressed. But then I decided to actually watch the whole movie in its entirety. And horror movies have always been one of my favorite genres, not just because of the scares. I mean, I love to be scared. I love to be on the edge of my seat, okay? But as a movie critic, horror movies, in my opinion, are always the best when it comes to critiquing. Because with a horror movie, there's so many different elements. You can have a villain, you can have the main characters going through some kind of character arc. You could basically really start to delve into some of their strengths, some of their weaknesses, any kind of relatable human elements, I feel has the most possibilities when it comes to horror movies. And for, my first movie review for Halloween 2023, let's talk about The Exorcist. Okay, 1973 is when it was released, and it's about a little girl that goes through demonic possession. That's the story. But there are 5 reasons as to why this simple story is such a classic. Okay? So let's talk about number 1, shock value. If you've seen my review of Talk to Me that I released back in July of 2023, one thing you'll know about me as a critic is that I love shock value in movies. I think it's important to push boundaries and not shy away from showing real life brutality or real life perversions essentially, right? So if you look at this scene right here, now this scene is very iconic because it's kind of freaky how her head turns the way that it turns, right? But if you've seen this movie, and I'm going to spoil it for you in case you haven't seen it yet, before this happened, Regan, the daughter, is stabbing herself down there with a cross. And how do I put this nicely? She grabs her mother's face and forces the mother to orally pleasure her. How much more sick can you possibly get? I mean, think about that. That is disgusting, man. And yeah, remember also Regan's a little girl, and the types of profanity that she uses towards the other characters in the movie, it's shocking, especially coming from a little girl of her age. So that's one thing about The Exorcist, man. It doesn't shy away from shock value. That's the first thing this movie does right. And it just goes on from there. Here's the next reason why. Number 2, redemption. As I said, horror movies, good ones especially, they give the opportunity for human elements, okay? Now, as you probably already realized when you look at my work so far on this channel, I love human elements. Father Karras is a character in this movie who is responsible for taking care of his own mother. And he feels like he failed his mother. And when his mother dies in a nursing home, he blames himself for it. He also wants out of the church system. He wants nothing to do with any type of exorcism whatsoever. But when Regan's mother comes up to him and begs him for help, he sees that as an opportunity to redeem himself. I'm not going to spoil for you exactly what he does in the ending of the movie. You got to watch it for yourself. But he does go out of his way to redeem himself for how he failed his mother. And I think that's an important element because I want you to think about something, guys. How many times have we in our life done something wrong for a loved one and we wanted to redeem ourselves? Face it, we may not have lost our mothers yet, but we've all done something in our own lives that makes this theme so relatable. And that's why I think that's another reason why it's a classic. Okay? Now let's talk about another topic here. Number 3, science versus religion. Okay? Science versus religion. You know how many people take religion way too seriously? You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say, but you know what I'm talking about. We all know someone in our lives who goes way too over the top of religion, and they're just not in touch with reality. There are also people that take science way too seriously. and have no faith in God, right? Science versus religion is a theme that was discussed in this movie, and it was discussed very well, okay? Because you've got the science components of this movie saying, okay, maybe Regan is just mentally ill. Maybe it's schizophrenia. Maybe something's wrong with some frontal lobe in her brain. And then there's the other components about exorcism, religion. Is this normal? Could there be a higher or some type of evil power that's forcing these kinds of behaviors in her? We tend to put a lot of belief on our behaviors, whether it's basic human biology or through God. And I think The Exorcist touched upon this theme very well, and just enough to not take away from the horror and the human components that the movie is trying to portray to us. It did a great job with that. Let's talk about the other thing here. How about those special effects, man? How about that spooky demonic face? Oh my God! It's one of the most iconic horror scenes in Hollywood history, and rightfully so. But it's because of the special effects that are done so well in this movie. And again, it's 1973. Now, I want you guys to ask yourselves, okay, this movie came out in 1973. Why are special effects in a 1973 movie better than what we have in the 2020s? Why is that? Why are we going backwards? We gotta go and take a chapter out of these old classic horror movies, okay? To bring back that same classic element that we have in today. We really do. It's really sad to me that a lot of these movies now don't have the same effects, or they just gotten more cheaper, and they're using this cheap CGI now. Like, what is that? What do you guys care more about? Telling good horror movies or being cheap with your money? You know what I'm saying? The Exorcist was not cheap. That's my point. Good movies are never cheap with their effects. Remember that, okay? How about that final component of a classic? The music, okay? Now, for me, the music has this sort of calmness about it, right? There's a calmness, but kind of a haunting element at the same time. So the haunting element really captures the horror of the demonic possession. The calmness, in a way, bear with me, the calmness of it all, in a way, really ties into the shock value. Because when you think of a scary movie, you think of like just some, sort of like boogeyman type of scenario where everything is just in your face with the horror, right? But having that calm music or any type of calm elements, in my opinion, it brings out the horror even more because it makes it more shocking. And if you don't know what I mean, take a look at serial killers. Take a look at Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy. They were wolves in sheep's clothing, right? You look at those guys and think, oh, they look so harmless. How could they do such horrible stuff? Watch The Exorcist and play that theme music. This is very calming music. There's an element of calm to it. How could something so calm be so shocking? The music is one of the most underrated parts of this movie for me. And those for me are 5 reasons why The Exorcist is a classic. Now, what do you guys think? Why do you think this movie is a classic? Do you think I missed anything? Comment below. And in my next video, we're going to take you back to 1922. And if you see any bites on your neck that are very vampire-like, don't be surprised. That's a teaser for you guys for my next video. See you soon.